that students get involved in their communities and try to lift each other up. And thank you guys all for coming. It's so great to see so many people interested in these kind of things, and it's all really exciting. So just as, oh, I want to pronounce your name right, Sri Lekha? Is that right?
Yeah, it's Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka? Okay, Sri Lanka. Just as Sri Lanka said, yes, I am a grade 12 graduating student from Toronto. I will be attending the Wharton School of Business at UPenn this fall. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to message me or email me. I'll put my email in the chat sometime during this thing. So if anyone has any questions about applying to the States or anything, feel free to contact me about that. I would say my two main things I do are art and leadership. So in terms of art, I've been in a art school since 4th grade, and then where we study all types of art, and then in 9th grade I specialized in visual arts until now when I'm graduating. In terms of leadership, I ran for my school student council in 9th grade, and then I got elected onto the council as junior mayor, and then I became vice president and then president this year. I was also just elected valedictorian, and I've also been student trustee for 2 years of the Toronto District School Board. So if anyone has any questions about any of that kind of stuff, feel free to message me. I'd love to help. And with that being said, if you have any questions during my little talk today, just put them in the chat and I'll be happy to answer at the end. So I just wanted to start off with what empowerment is to me. And so I think empowerment is when you really understand yourself well enough to know what you believe in and what kind of things you want to stand up for. And even more, when you're confident enough to embrace the uncomfort that comes with talking about difficult issues like racism or misogyny or sexism. It's very uncomfortable. It makes people uneasy. But the moment you say, I don't care about your discomfort, these are important issues to be talking about, or this is something that I want to do, and you keep going forward and doing what you believe in, that's when you're truly empowered. And with that being said, I'll get into my journey with art and leadership. But before I do that, I want to talk about what I think my keys to success are. And I promise you, if you incorporate these into your life, you will have 100 times more amazing life. And I feel like I'm in those advertisements before YouTube videos where it's do you want to get rich quick? Click the link in my bio and download my free ebook. But no, I'm not trying to sell you any ebook or anything. These are just things that I do that I think have made me successful. So first, it's to not care what other people think, and to second, to understand yourself and to think properly. And what I mean by thinking properly is that most people go through life really unconsciously. And what I mean by this is they ride a wave of due dates, chasing other people's dreams or just doing what they're told to do without stopping to think hey, do I actually want to do this, or is this something that's useful for me? And they keep doing this until they're 35, and they've only realized now that they're too tied down to chase the dreams that they actually want to go through with. For example, a lot of students go into high school and they're not really sure what they want to do, but with all the work that's coming toward them, they're so mentally exhausted that their whole capacity is taken up with all this homework and due dates that they finish one thing and immediately just hop onto the next without stopping to think am I happy right now? Is this something that's useful to me or valuable to me in the future? So I think everybody should take more time to just think in their life, just to stop and think about, am I happy? Is this something that's valuable to me? Am I happy with where my life is going? And what are my goals? What are my real goals? And not the conventional goals that have been put onto me by my parents or my friends or the people around me. And I was guilty of this too. I was so guilty of this. I was I want to be an engineer because everyone made me think, oh, you gotta be sciencey, you gotta know STEM and be really good at math. And then I was taking all these courses and I was oh my God, I love chemistry. Lie, that's a big lie. But because I wasn't stopping to think enough, I convinced myself that this is what I should be doing. So yeah, I recommend every day in the morning, you spend like 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, doesn't matter, just to sit down and every day ask yourself like a set of questions. What are my goals, long term and short term? What do I want to do in the future? How, like, am I feeling fulfilled? And every day you'll iterate a little bit on your path and a little bit more until you finally find what will actually make you feel fulfilled and happy. And in my case, I like to also think like, if I'm going to die in a year, what do I want to accomplish? Because that's how you know like what you actually want to get done in this lifetime and how you know you'll feel fulfilled by the end of the day. So yeah, one, understand yourself and really understand what your identity is and who you are so that you can put your time into the right places and chase the goals that you want and not other people. So that's it for that portion. I think some people have asked questions. Maybe not. I can't really see the chat. Do you want me to answer them right now or?
That's okay. We can save them for the end. Most of them have been just positive comments about you. You're doing great.
Oh, thank you. Okay, second is to like not care what people think. So when you understand what you want to do, you gotta not care what people think. And I know this sounds like such common sense, and I feel like everybody knows it, but nobody actually practices it because it's really easy to be like, oh my god, they think I'm weird. Oh my god, the popular girls don't like me. But that's stupid. Let me tell you why. So caring what other people think is very unproductive and very hindering and will drag you down so horribly. First of all, in life, you always want to be unique. The more unique you are, the more opportunities you'll get, the more jobs you'll get, the more people will like you because you're more interesting. Like even when you're applying to the University of Pennsylvania or any state school or Ivy League, you're always trying to say like, I am so unique and so different and so interesting, and that's why you want me, right? But the more you care what people think, the more you become like the people around you and the less unique and the more boring you become. So for example, I'm friends with this artist. Her name is like Me Love Me a Lot. Some of you guys might know her on Instagram. If you don't, you can just like find her after this. I'll type her username. Me Love Me a Lot. And in high school, she was making her own clothing. She was doing her art, and people bullied the shit out of her for it. They were like, this is so ugly. And she had a really, really hard time in her childhood. But now she has this huge clothing brand, like huge celebrities are wearing her clothing. She's making music, friends with like Ansel Elgort or ASAP Rocky. I find that very cool. And just think like if she cared what people thought, she would not be where she is today. She would like conform to normal things. And how boring is that? So boring, right? I'm just like looking through my notes. So also, for example, like obviously when I create art, there's people who won't like it. There's people who are gonna be like, that's really weird, Ivy, or I don't really see it. I don't really get it. But it's so important to just understand that if somebody is telling you negative things in a non-constructive way, that they're not worth your time. They're really not worth your mental capacity. And you say, bye, goodbye. I have people around me who will support me, and that's the people that I'm gonna put my mental energy and love to. Which also means like you should really be cognizant of the people you have around you because you need it, because you become more similar to the people you're around. So yeah, I guarantee you the moment you stop caring what people think, your life will become so much better and you become so much happier. And I know it's hard in the beginning because you're gonna like there's always people who are gonna criticize you, but you just gotta remember like, why do I care what this person thinks? Is this person like valuable to me? Like, is it my mom? Is it my teacher? And if their opinion really does not matter, they shouldn't matter. And you should just swat them out of your mind, you know? And so the way I applied this to my art journey, I actually used to be really ashamed of being an artist because people would look at me, they'd be like, artists starve, like get a real career, or like, oh, you're gonna get a useless degree. And so I'd be like, I am better than the stereotypical image of an artist. I'm not an artist. I hate art, you know? And I realized as I went into high school and as I kept going through my program, how stupid it is to care what other people think. Because if this makes me happy, this is what I'm going to chase in my life. And this is how I'm going to feel fulfilled. Because I would rather people think that what I'm doing is stupid or like unproductive than go 30 years down the line and feel unfulfilled and sad because I haven't chased the dreams that I've wanted to chase. So there was like really big revelation for me. Like a year ago, I was sitting in my bed at like 3 a.m. I was like, damn, if I was to die tomorrow, I will regret so hard that I'm not doing more art. And so that's when I realized that I need to do art more unapologetically. And that's when I started posting more art on my social media account, and I tried designing some clothing and started a little business. Hopefully it turns out okay, but even if it doesn't, it's a great learning experience. And yeah, so in conclusion, take the time to understand yourself and to think properly. Like every morning, wake up for like 5-10 minutes, just think, am I happy? Am I fulfilled? What are my goals? And are these my goals or are they other people's goals? And two, stop caring. Stop caring what other people think. And if you apply these things, I guarantee you'll be so empowered to chase your dreams and to do the things you want. And you'll be so much more confident and happy. And yeah, I think that's it for me. I'll be very happy to answer any questions. I'll put my contact info in the chat box so you guys can like email me if you have any questions about schools or anything. And yeah, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for that, Ivy. We actually do have 2 questions for you in the chat real quick, and then I'll also hand it off to Jenny, who has a couple other questions for you. So Susan asks, how do you deal with failure or setback?
That is a really good question. And so yes, it's definitely very hard. And I used to take it very hard. Like it was so stupid. I remember in grade 9, my frisbee team, so I'm also a frisbee player. I play on the Toronto's rep team and I competed like nationally last year. But so our frisbee team, we were in like the finals for our section and we got second because and I kept blaming it myself. I was so mad for like a week. I was like, I hate this medal. I'm gonna bury this medal in my backyard. But if you think about it, like how stupid is that to wallow on your failures? You really need to look at your failures in a positive light. And I know it's easier said than done, but really it's a choice. Any emotion you feel is a choice, right? So you can either choose to be like, oh no, I messed up. I'm gonna hate myself for weeks and think about this when I fall asleep. Or you can say, I'm so grateful this happened now and not later, and that I'm able to learn from this experience so that I don't do it again and I don't do it when the stakes are higher. Right? And if you think about it in this more positive light, you'll be so much happier and so much more grateful for failing. And I actually really like failing because if you're always winning, you're not learning anything. If you're always winning, like where is there to grow? If you're always winning, like go somewhere else where you can fail so you can learn something, right? But as well, in terms of like feeling negative emotions and in general, I do this thing called the 30-second rule where it's taught me really how to like control my emotions and to continue living life really productively instead of wallowing in self-pity and being like, oh, I'm horrible, you know? And so basically the 30-second rule is to, oh wait, it's 3 seconds. 3-second rule is to, when you feel a negative emotion, to let yourself feel it for 3 seconds and then to be like, can I change this? Yes or no. If you say yes, then just go do what you can to change it. But if you can't change it, then you realize that there's absolutely no use in wallowing on this or thinking about this more because you can't change it, right? So you let yourself feel this emotion for a certain amount of time. And then after you allow yourself to feel that emotion and you say your emotions are valid and you've gotten through your system, you continue living through life and saying, I'm grateful that this happened. I'm learning so much. And next time it won't happen again. So yeah, 3-second rule and just keep being positive.
Okay, looks like we got a couple more questions. How do you maintain such a positive outlook every day?
Oh yeah. Well, let me tell y'all something. This is a little secret. Not a lot many people know this, but I used to be very sad in like middle school. Like for a few years, I was just so sad. I would just lock myself in my room and just like lay in my bed for hours. And I'd be like, if I could just not exist right now, I would. Right? Like it's not that I wanted to kill myself, but it was like I don't really like existing, right? But then I just woke up one day and I was just eating dinner. I was like looking at the window and like the sun was like really nicely touching like all the plants, and I felt happy for the first time in a long time. And I just realized that I needed to keep choosing to be happy, because the more like I let myself feel bad about certain things, or the more I let myself wallow in things that I really couldn't change, the less space I had to grow. So one, it's to choose to be happier and to choose to have a positive outlook on life. But at the same time, it's to be grateful. That is so important. Like that, once you have gratitude, your life becomes just so much happier. Like I wake up in the morning and I think I'm so lucky to have a house, or to have all my limbs, or to be able to drink clean water, and to have been born into a country like Canada. Like that is such an insane privilege that I'm so lucky and grateful to have. And no matter how horrible my life gets, let's say like I fail a test, or like I get expelled from universities, as horrible as my life gets, I will still have these privileges, and that's enough to be happy about your life. But yeah.
Well said. Another question is, who are some of your role models or people you look up to, and how did they help you shape where you are at right now?
Yeah, so I'd say one person I actually, okay, I look up to a lot of CEOs like Naval Ravikant or Elon Musk. I listen to a lot of their podcasts, and like just like I was saying before, how you become more similar to the people you hang around. I sometimes like to like create an artificial environment where like I'm listening to a podcast about Elon Musk when I'm commuting to school, and it's like I'm hanging around him, right? So like he's like rubbing off on me. So in the term of like Elon Musk, like obviously Elon Musk, like he's insane. He's so smart. He works so hard, and just his drive and his ability to not give a fuck, that really inspired me. Like not even all the things he creates or that he's so successful. What I look up to most about him is that he just doesn't care. He will smoke weed on a podcast and his stock will plummet and he will not care. He will tweet something really stupid and he doesn't care. He really is just out here living. Like he creates these insane ideas that probably are gonna fail, and he does not care. And that's just so insane to me. And he's a big risk taker, which I also really appreciate, because I feel like a lot too many people are like don't like taking risks, so like to keep like going to the safe route in life and not really feeling fulfilled. I remember reading something, it was a while ago, but he made a bunch of money from like one of his first startups or something, and he could put half into one of his businesses and half into another, or he could like save some. And so he made a bunch of money, invested them both into two businesses. So he was basically bankrupt, and he he just took risks, and he didn't care what people thought, and now he's like an icon, right? As well, Naval Ravikant, I used to look up to him a lot. Not that I don't look up to him anymore, but I don't listen to a lot of his podcasts anymore. So I'm not very knowledgeable on the things he says anymore. But Naval Ravikant, he has like a lot of good things to say, a lot of wise words, especially about meditation. I learned a lot about meditation by listening to his podcasts. And another role model I have is Me Love Me a Lot. She's like the artist that I met last year. And the reason I look up to her so much was because actually, was it last year? well, anyways, when I met up with her, I was still feeling like, oh, art's not for me. I want to be an engineer, which is so stupid, right? So I was talking to her manager. I was like, do you have any advice for me? And then he's like, his first piece of advice was, when you're making a decision, just go with the first thing you think, because anything else will not be your decision, but the first thing you think will be your first instinct. But anything else you think after that will be molded by other people, and it won't actually be what you want, right? So that really taught me to just trust myself and to stop caring what people thought and to continue creating art unapologetically and to just be empowered to be who I want to be. But yeah.
All right. How do you deal with imposter syndrome? Susan also asks.
This is an amazing question. Oh my gosh. Holy shit. I had the biggest imposter syndrome until like last year. I would win internationally for DECA, or I would get elected to like onto my student council, or I would get accepted into this like a prestigious summer camp, and I'd be like, no, I was just lucky. I was, not many people applied this year, or like affirm, like I would always downgrade myself, and I confused being humble with constantly putting myself down and saying, oh, they only accepted me because I'm a little bit likable and my resume is not even that good. I don't even have any real skills. But the moment that I stopped thinking like that was when I really took the time and thought about, like, I worked for this, and there's no way like there's no way you can get lucky that many times. And even if you only like achieved one thing, there's a reason you won that, or there's a reason the committee like chose you for that. But also, what's really important with imposter syndrome is to not fall for how the world confuses confidence and arrogance. And that's something I'm so annoyed by. People are so used to people like downgrading themselves and being too humble that the moment you're like, yeah, I am good at DECA, or like, yeah, I am a good artist, or like, yeah, I am a good speaker, they're like, she's so arrogant. Oh my gosh. She's so stuck up. Like, you just have to stop caring what people will say about you once you start being confident and once you start really giving yourself the credit that you deserve. But at the same time, even like on the other side of the imposter syndrome coin, when you like, let's say you get into a group of people and everyone in this group of people is so talented and so amazing, and you just feel like, wow, I don't belong here. But you just gotta remind yourself that you do belong there, because there's a reason that you're there. Like, if you didn't belong there, you wouldn't be there, you know? If you're there, you have something to add and you have something of value, and other people are probably thinking the same thing as you. Like, so what if you can't do math as well as this person? You probably have a specialty that's better than like half the people there too. Like, I suck at math. Like, it takes me twice as long to learn something than it would like my classmates, and I'm okay with that, because I know that being bad at a certain thing doesn't mean that my whole value as a person or as an applicant is downgraded. But yeah.
All right, a couple more questions. How do you think young people can change the world? Which role do you think we have to make a change?
How do you think young people? That's a very good question. Okay, well, young people can definitely change the world because of, one, like how young we are. We have so much time, and we have, like, in today's society, we have a completely different platform to speak on social issues, or to like try to create change by like posting on social media, or just advocating always for the people around you. In terms of changing the world, I definitely think young people can change the world. And it comes in so many different ways. Like, it can be through social media activism, by starting a movement, by running for office when you become older, or by joining councils. I think when you think about changing the world, it's such a gradual process that instead of thinking like making your goal to change the world, you should make your goal to change the things you see around you. And as you get older and as you get more freedom and you have more ability to get involved in higher things, you start changing the things you can until you reach the point where you can change the world. So I'm not saying don't think about changing the world. Is that right? Don't think about changing. I'm not saying to forget about changing the world, but I am saying to understand that it's very hard to change the whole world right now as a young person, but you should be continuing to change small things around you as best as you can. And you said, which role do you think we have to make a change? Can you be more specific with what you like mean by that? You can like open your mic or something. Maria? Oh, here, I think she typed something.
It is okay with that answer, she said.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, next one was, what tips do you have for being more productive?
Yeah, so when I'm studying, I do this thing called the Pomodoro method, where it's like you study for 25 minutes, you take a break for 5 minutes, you study for 25 minutes, and you do that in cycles for like 3 or 4 times, and then you take a break for an hour. And what this helps me do is to continue keeping my brain sharp without really exhausting it or tiring it out and burning it out, and being able to continue doing work while enjoying my life as well. But I also think it's important to not think that you have to be productive all the time. Especially in today's society, we have such a prevalent work culture where we think like we should always be working, where we take pride in the fact that I only slept 2 hours last night because I stayed up to do the science project. Like, you hear students saying that so much, and you hear another one, they'll be like, no, I only slept 1 hour. Like, people think it's something to be proud of to be overworked. And I think it's important that while you should be trying to be more productive, you should also take the time to care for yourself and to take mental breaks and to understand that you can get burnt out and that it's okay to just have some free time. But yeah.
For sure. Okay. How do you fight against art block from Rodana?
Yeah, so in terms of art block, I listened to this really good podcast a while ago talking about art block, and it literally said art block doesn't exist. Because once you start taking art seriously, it's like your job. And you can't, like, a plumber can't say, oh, I don't feel like plumbing today. Or like an electrician can't be like, I don't feel like electricianing today. Or like your teacher can't be like, I don't feel like teaching today, guys. I have teaching block, go home, right? Art block is a very mental thing. So the more you believe that art block exists and the more that you believe that you just can't make any ideas, the more your brain won't make any ideas, right? But so while on one hand, you should like not believe that art block exists, on another hand, sometimes you do get burnt out when you're creating art. And I notice it sometimes where I just sit down and I don't feel good doing art right now. And so in terms of that, sometimes you just need to take a break. Like, go take a bath, go out running, go bike or something, and then come back to it later. But yeah.
And how did you personally get into art? What initially drew you into it, and why did it stick?
I always was drawing since I was a child. I'm not sure why, but like my parents would send me to art class and it just like became my thing as a kid. Like, my grandma's friends would come over, I like show them my sketchbook with my really bad drawings. Like, this is a turtle. And I always knew I liked art. And I wouldn't in terms of it like sticking, it actually, I tried to make it not stick for a long time. I tried to I tried to apply to switch majors because I was trying to leave the art program because I thought I wasn't an artist. But I think the moment I really realized that I really love art was when I started to draw something or create something, and I'd just be put into this zone where it like felt like I was like meditating and I just really felt so happy and fulfilled in that moment that I knew I was like, okay, like I actually really like art. And there's something else I want to say, but I forget. I'll say it again later, but
Yeah, we can always come back to it.
oh my God, I remember. Okay. Okay, so another reason, like one of the biggest reasons I like art is because I think it can show the world to be much more beautiful than it is. And I'm not saying the world's ugly, but I'm saying that like because I have such a positive outlook on life, I feel really happy when I look at the world, and with art I can actually communicate and make those emotions real through like a painting or something. But yeah.
Very cool. So what's next for you, and how do you hope to continue to empower others in the future?
Next, this fall, I'm going to be attending the University of Pennsylvania. I know it's a business school, but my philosophy was that I would use the business knowledge I learned at UPenn to help run my art business. And because it's so close to New York, like Philadelphia, New York, I would like go over there for weekends to like go to exhibits or work with other artists. And also take a minor in UPenn for fine arts or fashion design. So hopefully that works out for me. And even as I continue at UPenn, I hope to get involved in their student government and continue to doing the stuff I've been doing on like student trustee, etc. And doing some like work in the areas around Philly to really extend the privileges of having an Ivy League education to the people who might not be able to access it yet.
Very cool. Okay, we got about 2 questions left. Just a reminder, if anybody wants to ask any more questions, just drop it in the chat and we can get them answered. Got a couple more minutes left in the call. So, would you rather be able to make anything you draw come to life, or be able to draw like your biggest art inspiration? From Jenny.
I would definitely say I would rather be able to make anything I draw come to life. Because one, that's super cool. I could do so many cool things with that. But also because I feel like although people should have inspirations and idols, what really makes having idols important is to be able to take those inspirations and make it your own and to grow from it and not just copy it.
For sure. I love that. Okay, last question is, what would be your advice for someone who can't find their specialty?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I didn't actually understand that art was my like specialty until like a year ago. So I would definitely say first to be patient because it's a hard thing to like see like, oh, I'm like good at this. But I would say definitely to just do a lot of things, just to get involved in this and try this out and see what sticks and see what you enjoy, because that's like definitely the first step. Like when I was a kid, my parents were sending me to like a million classes, like sending me to ballet, to music class. I hated music class, not gonna lie. But yeah, so definitely get involved in a lot of things, try out a lot of things to see what you like, be patient, and don't try to force yourself to finding something in like a month or 2 years, because you won't know until it happens. And I think a lot of people find their specialties like by accident, like they just do something because they love it and they realize later that this has become their specialty. So I would say do things because you actually like doing them, and then finding your specialty will come afterwards.
All right, awesome. One more question. I'm pretty sure we addressed this before, but how did you start art and where did you find your passion? Were there any influencers in the art world? Did we?
like we sort of went through that. I was talking about how like my parents sent me to class, and there were definitely like some influences. Like I can definitely name a lot of artists that I really enjoyed, like Van Gogh, Monet. Obviously, like they're amazing artists. Mila Mila, some Instagram artists that I can't name like right off the bat, like Henry Akao or something. He does really good oil paintings. This artist called Kimi Shimi. She makes these really like morbid but cute sculptures. Sapapomo makes these like squishy sculptures that I really like. There's just so many influences that have really shaped the kind of art that I do.
All right, awesome. Does anybody have any other questions? Feel free to unmute and ask if you want. If not, Ivy, if you want to close out, that's fine too.
Yeah, well, thank you guys very much for coming and for listening and for being so engaged and asking so many questions. Again, if you want to ask me any other questions, you can always reach out to me like on Instagram or emailing me. I would recommend to research me on Instagram because I don't like checking my email very often. So yeah, again, thank you guys very much. This was very fun for me. I hope it was fun for you guys as well. And thank you, Srileka, for organizing this. It's a great thing you're doing, and yeah.
Yeah, and thank you so much for being on here. Thank you to all of our audience. Thank you, Jenny. Huge shout out to her. She was a great help in organizing this. And yeah, thank you guys. Hopefully this was helpful. Bye everyone.
And have a great evening.